Welcome to Big Dell's Tips for FBC. In round 24, there was one major upset. That's right, the Parramatta Eels. The Parramatta Eels of all teams beat the Melbourne Storm. Melbourne Storm were going for 20 record wins. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done. They lost to the Eels. Well done to Blake Ferguson scoring 2 tries. And we'll go through that in a minute. But firstly, the Knights over the Titans. The Titans had so much to play for here, and so the Knights. The Knights on the back of Mitchell Pearce and Kalen Ponga, they get the job done. Mitchell Pearce gets in the pocket, goes bang, slots a field goal, 15-14. The Warriors versus the Raiders. Well, the Warriors got off to a really fast start, 16-0 up. And then what happens? The Raiders scored 28 unanswered points. So well done to Jordan Rapana there, playing some really good football. And the Raiders in general, this is what they do. They might start slow, but they know how to come home with a wet sail. And what about the Roosters versus the Bunnies? Well, the Bunnies, let's just say they had a massive win, 54-12. They did a lot of things right, but the thing they did wrong was Latrell Mitchell. He got out of hand. So obviously he's going to miss the rest of the season now. They won 54-12. And Latrell Mitchell, unfortunately, that hit on Joey Manu with loading. That's cost him 5 or 6 weeks. So that's their chances, I think, this year. I think they're gone. They need Latrell Mitchell to win the grand final. He is their superstar player. They've got a lot of good players there, but Latrell Mitchell is their X factor. Okay, the Dragons versus the Cowboys. I did tip the Cowboys here. I think the Cowboys had lost 10 or 11 in a row, and for me, the Dragons just haven't been playing good football. You can't put young players like Sullivan in at hooker. That's not his first position. The Cowboys played really good football on the back of guys like Cole Felt and Valentine Holmes. Cole Felt scores 3 tries. They get home 38-26. Well done to the Cowboys. Yeehaw! Right 'em, Cowboy. And the Sharks versus my Broncos. Jesse Ramian was a powerhouse here. He was so hard to stop. If you're having a team of the week, Jesse Ramian's in it. They get home 24-16. The Storm versus the Eels. Well, Blake Ferguson, who would have picked this? Blake Ferguson, welcome back to the big time, mate. 2 tries against the Storm. We know it's not the Storm's strongest side, but still, the Parramatta Eels stopped them from getting that 20th win record. So they are now stuck with the Roosters on 19, the 1975 team. But well done to the Eels. That was a really good win for them. And now they're back in the premiership race. I still think they've got to do it in the finals. I still don't think they can. The Seagulls in the back of Tommy Turbo, 36-18. The Bulldogs are trying really hard here, but Tommy Turbo, I think he scored 3 tries. He's doing it easy. If he doesn't win the Dalian medal, I'm not a 3-time premiership player. And the Panthers versus the West Tigers. The battle of the big cats. Well, the Panthers. The Panthers came out 30-16 on the back of Kikau. Kikau was unbelievable. Mate, just his footwork for a big man. His footwork's as good as any outside back. His power is unbelievable. His skill set's as good as any half. He's a complete package there. So Cleary was kicking goals from left, right and centre. And the Panthers, they get home 30-16. Let's get stuck into round 25. And what a clash we have for you on Thursday night. Back in the place that I love, Mackay. That's right, I'm a Mackay boy. Raiders versus the Roosters. The Roosters played there, I think, last month, and they went really well. But look, they've got some injuries now. We see Joseph Manu, they're one of their best players. He's out. They've still got a pretty competitive side here. Josh Morris announced his retirement this year. So Josh and Brett Morris, well done. They've been wonderful talents of the game. But look at this Raiders side. This Raiders side is still a good side. So at the back, Chance, he moves into fullback there. On the wing, Jordan Rapana, he moves back to the wing. That's his preferred position, and that's where Ricky wants to keep him. Chance was really good last week, starting to get back to his best football. But that forward pack, that's that power forward pack. Papali'i, Joseph Tarpany, and that back row. Soliola, he comes back into the 13 there. So I'm telling you now, this is where the Raiders need to stand up. Corey Horsburgh, the big redhead, he dropped a couple of balls last week, and he was very lucky he didn't get the hook any earlier because Ricky wasn't happy at all. The Roosters side, well, we know the Roosters are playing great football. They're doing what they're doing. Last week, they would have been embarrassed by last week, but they had a lot of young players. I think said it last week. 17 out of their 17, I think 7 of their players have had less than 30 first grade game experience, and that showed. That's why the Bunnies tailed them up. I think they'll get beaten this week. Even though Maria Hargraves, he'll start this week. They've got a really good back row. Angus Crichton's obviously back. I still think the Raiders can get them this week in a tight one. So where I'm looking to go here, the Raiders are the favourites at $1.80. The Roosters are $2. So I think for me, this is going to be a tight game. I think the Raiders have got more to play for. I think the Raiders will get home 1-12. I think in a tight one, the Raiders will get home by 4 or 6 points. So for me, get on the Raiders, and they'll be having chicken dinner for tonight because the Raiders will be the winners. Well, what a game we have here on Friday night. I can't wait to call this for Triple M. The Sharks versus Storm. The Sharks are in 8th at the moment. They're doing better than the Raiders, so the Raiders obviously need to win. If the Sharks lose this game, the Raiders could hurdle them. But I'm going to feel sorry for the Sharks because they're going up against a pretty strong Storm side here, and they will be smarting after last week's loss. Bellamy be absolutely ropeable. I think Brandon Smith said he wouldn't be too happy to be talking to Craig Bellamy because he'd be furious. Well, he would have been furious, but look, we know the Storm had to drop a game at some stage or another. But look at this forward pack. It's a really good forward pack from the Cronulla Sharks. This is where you've got to take the Storm apart. The good thing about the Parramatta Eels is their defence. It was intense. It was all over the Melbourne Storm. The Melbourne Storm had nowhere to go. They couldn't play their natural game. You've got to take the Melbourne Storm out of their comfort zone. If you let them play that power game through the middle and hit the edges and play that expansive football, you're going to get dusted up. And they do what they do. Second phase play, put the kicks in, score freakish tries. But the Sharks, they can match them. They can match them for power. They can match them for skill. Their back line is a very handy back line. Matt Mullen obviously at 5'8". He'll do a good job there. William Kennedy, he's been outstanding for the Sharks. But their forward pack's where it's at. Luke Metcalf, he gives you so much off the bench. He's a great utility. But I look at this Storm side. Pappenhausen, Olam, Nico Hines, and Jerome Hughes. Very classy. But in the forward pack now, this is where they've got to start to power up again. Big Kamikamitha, Asafa Solomona. He's a guy that's got to get the job done. He's got to lead the way. So what he's good at doing, Craig Bellamy, is rotating these players, but they need to keep winning here. Look, the Sharks are a big chance here, but I've got to tell you now, you've got to see the best of the Melbourne Storm leading to the finals because at the moment, the Panthers have shown a little bit of what they can do. So you have a look at what they can do. They can play that power game as well. So Craig Bellamy was absolutely ropeable last week, but Parramatta Eels were due for something special. So if I have a look at this Storm side, I look at their back line. Their back line is very skillful. I reckon where they changed it up a little bit, I know Pappenhausen has been back, but Pappenhausen has struggled to get back to his best. And that, for me, makes me very nervous. So the Melbourne Storm, they haven't got it their own way. On the back of, some of those wins, their rotation policy has been really good. But now, this is the business end of the season. This is the game before the finals, and you've got to flex your muscle here. You've got to see what you got. So the Sharks, they've got to keep winning. The Sharks are playing some really good football, but their forward pack, it's got to be the catalyst. So look at that bench. Like Talakai off the bench, Braden Ueli, he's a very good player. He's a bloke that can go through this Melbourne Storm side, but also that second phase play, which allows Sharks to take the Storm apart. Storm are going to be hard to beat, but look at the prices here. The Storm are $1.45. You'd think they'd be shorter than that, but they're not. The Sharks $2.75, but where I see this going, I'm going to Melbourne Storm here, minus a 6.5 point start. I think the Melbourne Storm will flex their muscle. I think they'll win this one, but they won't get it their own way. Melbourne Storm for me to bounce back, and then into the finals, they'll be very hard to stop. Well, we got the Battle of the West. The Eels versus the Panthers. The Panthers playing some great football last weekend. We saw what they can do. But the Eels, for me, they took down the Melbourne Storm. The Melbourne Storm were going for a record 20 wins. And out of the blue, the Parramatta Eels turn up. Look, it's going to be a bit harder this week, I think, for them because the Panthers are so focused now. They've got a nice mix of youth and experience in this Panthers side. I'm looking at the back there. Dylan Edwards is doing a really good job. And you know you've got a good team when Crichton has to be moved to the wing. He's a pretty fair centre. BRONCOS is playing some great football, but it's on the back of their forward pack and their halves. Luai and Cleary playing some great football. But what I like about the Panthers is their power through the middle. Moses Leota, he holds that power with Fisher Harris and that back row. Kickout, Capewell and Yao. They do a wonderful job, but it's also the rotation of their bench. Sorensen, Liam Martin, Tavita Pangai Jr. Tavita Pangai Jr. has added that X factor off the bench. So when Kickout comes off, he goes on. They don't lose a great deal. And I think his discipline's certainly been a lot better since he's gone to the Panthers. So that's the way they play. They hold you accountable for your mistakes. At the Broncos, Tavita Pangai Jr., he was just doing whatever he wanted there because he was the big dog in the pound. But like at the Panthers, you've got to fall in line and you've got to do what everyone else does, and that's why he's been so good. So the Eels here, they're going to do it tough this week because their halves, the young halves, there's Will Smith there and Jake Arthur. We know Jake Arthur's a good player, but Dylan Brown, obviously, he's in the reserves. And then you got no Mitchell Moses here. Mitchell Moses being so important to the team, but this is what the Eels have got to do here. They've got to show people that they've got to back last week's performance up. It's no good having just a one-off performance like that. Oh, we beat the Melbourne Storm, pat ourselves in the back. It doesn't work like that. You've got to have a run of wins into the finals, and then people will start to take notice. One thing I did notice about the Parramatta Eels last week was their defence was really strong and aggressive, and they've done that on a few occasions, but they haven't done it enough. Once they allow teams to go through them and that, sometimes they get mentally weak. Last week, the Melbourne Storm, they had nowhere to go. That's how they're going to have to play against the Panthers, because I look at this Panthers side. The Panthers side can score from anywhere. They've got great skill, but also they've got a plan A, B, and C. So they've got composure right across the park, and their skill set is unbelievable. Their aggression through their forwards, I like how they play through their forwards, and it gives their backs confidence, because if your forward pack are ripping through the middle, your backs are carrying that ball, it gives them a break, and then it complements each other. But you know what? You can never tell the Battle of the West. The Eels versus the Panthers. The Eels would love nothing more than to beat the Panthers here. That way they've knocked the two competition favourites, and all of a sudden people are going, well, hey, the Eels are a chance of winning the premiership. I personally don't think they can win it, but some teams are going to be a bit nervous now seeing what they did last week. You look at the prices here, and you know what? I can understand why. The Parramatta Eels, without a couple of their big stars, $7. Penrith Panthers, $1.10. Where I see this game being won, obviously I said they're outside backs. There's too many points in the backs. The Panthers, minus 20.5 start. I think that's what I'd take. Minus 20.5 start for $1.90. I think they'll show why they should be considered up there with the Melbourne Storm, the Panthers. So they're playing some really good football. They've got a great mix of youth and experience. So let me tell you, the Big Black Cats, they will have some smoked eel, that's for sure. Well, I'll be doing this game for Triple M, the Broncos versus the Knights. My Broncos, they're starting to find something, but they still can't get the killer instinct or the killer punch to knock teams out. Mate, what's some talent here? There's some major talent. Kalen Ponga, he is a superstar. Mate, if you're starting a new franchise, open checkbook for Kalen Ponga, because not only does he bring it on the field, off field as well, he's got the looks, he's got the swagger. But you know what? At the moment, Knights are doing the job. They're getting the job done on the back of guys like Kalen Ponga, Mitchell Pearce, and Jake Clifford. Mitchell Pearce, obviously very experienced. Last week, he just sat in the pocket. He always set field goal. They needed that, the Knights, but also their forward pack are starting to play to their strengths. They're hitting them right through the middle, but they're starting to be aggressive. I do worry about their defence a little bit, that they leak too many points at different stages. So the Broncos here, they're going to throw the ball around. The Broncos have got a good side, but they've got a lot of kids in this side, so they've got to learn how to win. Sometimes, the Broncos start well, they go missing for 10 or 15 minutes, and they find some points. They find a run of points, but their middle third has got to be better. They've got to be aggressive, because if you don't hold the Knights through your middle third, you're in trouble out wide. I look at the back lines, and I love the Broncos back line, but I still don't think they can match, guys like Mann, Best, Clifford, and Pearce. I just don't think they go with them. So I'm looking at their forward packs: Clemmer, Suaso Sue, Tyson Frizzell, Connor Watson. Connor Watson is a fabulous young player. He's off to the Roosters next year. But this Broncos side, this is Alex Glenn's last game. He's been an absolute stalwart of the club. He's done a really good job. So thank you, Alex Glenn, to your service for the Broncos. You've been a wonderful role model for the club. But I still think they're going to do it tough this week, even though it's at Suncorp Stadium, 3 o'clock game. Where I'm looking, well, it's not in the betting. It's $1.90 each. They can't split them. I'm going to go the Knights here in a tight one. I'm going Knights 1 to 12, $3.50. I think the Knights have got too much to play for. Finals around the corner, so the Knights will get the job done, and that'll be the end of the Broncos season, unfortunately. And they need the end of the season to come real quick. So I think they'll finish in second last, which is not going to be good for the Broncos. They've had a wooden spoon. They finished obviously, second last. But the Knights are the team that could do a little something this weekend. But in the finals, I think they'll bow out in the first week. That's my call on the Knights Broncos game. Well, here we have the Cowboys versus Seagulls. Oh, look, do I give the Cowboys a chance? No, not even a Queensland Country Bank Stadium. The Seagulls last week dropped a bit of intensity. The Dogs had them there for a little while, but then that man, Tommy Turbo, he just goes bang into overdrive. I'll be very surprised if Tommy Turbo doesn't win the Dally M. He's playing some great football. We know his back line is a very handy back line, but he's the man that has got them to where they are today. Their forward pack. Ola Katahu, he's been playing some really good football, this young back rower with Schuster and Jake Travojevic. So where I see the Cowboys trying to beat them is throwing the ball around. They've got so much speed in the backs there. Obviously, Valentine Holmes in the centres there. Hamaso Fido, he's at fullback, so he's an exciting young player, and I think they've got to run him around. They've got to run this Seagull side around. This side could be just about anything. I reckon there's a lot of points being scored in this game, just because defence won't be a priority so much for the Cowboys. Even though we know Seagulls, they can defend with a lot of aggression. They can defend with a lot of aggression, but I think Cherry Evans, he'll be getting ready for the final series, so he'll get his team around, they'll get the job done. Mate, I've got to say, well done to Ruben Garrick. I think he scored 20 tries and kicked over, X amount of goals. I think he's the only player in history to do that. So well done to young Ruben Garrick. He's a good young player from the South Coast region, another one of the Dragons let go. So I look at the prices here. North Queensland Cowboys, $7. Mate, that's a big price at home. Obviously, they had a good win last week against the Dragons. Nothing to write home about. Manly Seagulls, $1.10. Where I see this being won, Manly Seagulls minus the 22.5. I'm taking that all day. I reckon they'll put plenty of points on the Cowboys. So take Manly minus 22.5 for $1.90 and you'll get paid. Trust me. Well, here we have the Rabbitohs versus my Dragons. Well, I'm going to say it as an ex-Dragons legend. I've been very disappointed with some of the selections, I suppose, in the Dragons team. Just disappointing too with some of the players being put in positions that they are. But also, I think we've got to back our youth policy at the Dragons. A lot of good young players from that South Coast region haven't got to go. So hopefully now they understand that you need to give our young players a go in turn for them to be the best that they can be. I look at the Bunnies side here. We know the biggest talking point of probably the league season was Latrell Mitchell. Latrell, I'm a massive fan. I met the kid when he was 17, 18. He's a wonderful player. But sometimes, I know we're not playing tiddlywinks, we're not playing marbles, sometimes your aggression can boil over. And I think last week, I think he'll sit back, Latrell, and just sort of wish he didn't do what he did last week, because I think it's cost the Bunnies a great opportunity at the grand final, because I just think you need someone like Latrell Mitchell if you're going to win the big games. It's when you watch cricket, you see guys like Dave Warner, you see guys like Ben Stokes, you see guys in the Bledisloe, stand up like Bodine Barrett. You need the big players to stand up. And even though Latrell was playing pretty good football, there was a little bit of crap in his game. And unfortunately, he's got 5 to 6 weeks to think about that now. So whatever happens here, the Bunnies won't have a guy like Latrell Mitchell. And I can tell you now, Wayne Bennett will not be happy about that. But what they have got, they've got some good players in their side. They've got guys like Benji Marshall who will come in. They've got a great forward pack. Jaden Sewer, Jacob Post, and these players will do a job. Mark Nicholas, mate, he did a good job last week. Couple of tries for the big fella. So he's going to look to rip it up here against the Dragons. The Dragons have got some really good young players. Young Sloan at the back, Feagai. These young players are the players you should be giving them a go. Amone, a wonderful young talent, but also their forward pack. Sullivan is not a number 9. I wouldn't be playing Sullivan number 9. Give him a go in the halves. Corey Norman's moving on next season. I don't know why you wouldn't play someone like Sullivan in the halves with Amone. Even though they're two young halves, you've got to do that. So I'm not sure what the Dragons are thinking here, but I don't think they can get the job done here, unfortunately. So for me, I look at South Sydney Rabbitohs, $1.45. The Dragons, $2.75. So I'm taking South Sydney minus a 7.5 start for $1.90. They will flex their muscle. They'll be a bit filthy about last week. Even though they won that game, they'll be filthy about what came out of that. Obviously, the Roosters had a few shots at the Bunnies. Wayne Bennett just said, you guys worry about what you do, we'll worry about what we do. So the Bunnies are still in the finals race, but I don't think they're going to win it. So let's see what the Bunnies can do, and maybe the Dragons can finish off with a win. Well, the Titans versus the Warriors. These two teams, well, look, these two teams have got a lot of potential, but they just can't be consistent. Yeah, they're probably they're the yo-yo teams of the competition. You know, one weekend they will ice teams. The next week they'll lose against teams that they probably should have beat. One guy I've been really impressed with is Jaden Campbell. Preston Campbell's young bloke. He's carving his own name out. We know his dad was a good player, and I know more than anyone else the pressure on these young guys coming through. So Jaden Campbell, well done to him. I look at that back line. It's a very, very exciting back line, but their forward pack's where it's at. Kevin Proctor, obviously, you know, he's playing some good football there. Big Tino, he's an absolute beast. And off the bench here, David Fafita, which I think we all know, even for a young player, he's probably got to do a bit more. He's on the big pay packets, or the big pay packet, I should say, half his luck, but he's got to do more. So I look at this Warriors side. This Warriors side's a good side. At some stage, the Warriors are got to deliver on their talent. So this side, this can go anywhere this game. They're playing at Seabus Super Stadium. Adam Fanua-Blake will lead the charge. He will lead that forward pack. He'll lead them to the promised land here. So he'll take Fortawaker on, who I think Fortawaker's talking to the Dragons at the moment. But I look at that back line there. Reece Walsh, he's a fantastic young player for the Warriors. So Reece Walsh and Jaden Campbell, we're going to see some exciting football at the back there from these players. And in the halves there, Tyrone Peachy and Harris Tavita. They're very good young 5'8". Cody Nicarima comes off the bench there. He'll be their point of difference there. And obviously, big Katoa. I look at the prices here. The Titans are $1.28. I reckon that's way too short. New Zealand Warriors $3.75. What I'll be doing here, I'll be taking the Warriors with 11.5 start. The Warriors with 11.5 start for $1.90, I reckon will be close to what people think. So the Warriors will flex their muscle here, and they'll get home, I reckon, against the Titans with that start. Well, to round off the last game of round 25 in the NRL, and what a season it's been. There's been ebbs and flows, highs and lows and all that sort of stuff, but the Tigers versus the Dogs, these two clubs, they just want the season to come. They'll both be on their Mad Monday. They'll both be behaving themselves, we know. The Tigers here, well, look, you know, Moses Mbye, he's off to the Dragons next year. And we've seen that at different stages. They've played some good football, but it's about consistency for the Tigers. Just when they give you a bit of hope, you know, they just go into a hole. But the Bulldogs fans, they're just going, what is going on with our club? They need to change the culture of that club. And I think Trent Barrett, it's not on him. It's actually on some of the players and obviously some of the people in and around that club. So I look at this game here and I look at their forward packs. Their forward packs are evenly matched, but it's their back lines. So I look at the back line there. Cole Flanagan, he'll get an opportunity to get the Dogs home in a close one here, but I just don't know if he can get the job done. I'm looking at this Tiger side. This Tiger side too, it's a good forward pack, but I just don't know if they've got enough ticket to get their side home. Mate, this can go either way, this game. The Tigers are $1.45, the Bulldogs are $2.75. Where I go with this, I've got to go with the Tigers minus the 7.5 for $1.90. Obviously, my man there, Adam Dewey, he's not playing. Adam Dewey's a fantastic player. He's had a great season. Moses Mbye, this is his last game for the Tigers. He needs to aim up at the back there. And Michael Cheekham, they're playing like back rowers in the centres. So I think it says a lot about where the club's at the moment. They're just trying to get through this season and then obviously reset. So this is played at Redcliffe there, Moreton Daly Stadium. So good luck to the Tigers and the Bulldogs. They obviously want to be taking part in the finals. And that will end off round 25 in the NRL. What a season it's been. That's Big Dell's tips for this week. It's been wonderful tipping with you guys through the round 25. But next week, it's a whole new ball game. It's finals time. And that's when I do my best work. See you same time, same place, next week.